Okay.
Good evening, everybody. Before we get started tonight, we have to do a little reorganization at the beginning of the year. So we need to elect chairman, vice chairman, and secretary. I would have a motion.
I would like to make a motion to retain the officers as they work for the past couple of years. Chuck Pearl as chairman, Paul McNamara as vice chairman, and Chris Wall as secretary.
You heard the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
A second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion's passed. So this evening, if anybody is here for docket 2403, extra lease LLC office and maintenance building, that is off the table for this evening. If you're here for 7602 Coons Drive preliminary final land development, that is off the table for tonight. We won't be discussing that either. And docket 2338 Twin Ponds mixed use 8739 Hamilton Boulevard, that's off the agenda also for this evening. So if you're here for that, it's not going to be heard tonight. What we will, is there any additions or deletions other than that to the agenda?
No,
Okay. And our MPC timeline?
those are all up to date.
Okay. Everybody get a chance to review the minutes from last month? If everybody got a chance, I'll entertain a motion to accept last month's meeting minutes.
I make a motion to accept the meeting as written in this part.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion and second. Any discussion on motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has been passed. Okay, going on into right there. Sorry, folks, I'm looking at the wrong speed. Other business, we're going to review of local economic revitalization tax assistance ordinance, Florida.
Yes. Good evening. The township and its board of supervisors are proposing to adopt an ordinance establishing as you said, a LERTA or a local economic revitalization tax assistance area. Before you this evening is a map delineating the area of the LERTA, which is the only item for you to offer recommendation. The ordinance then will follow. I think they're going to propose an ordinance be advertised at the February meeting. That being said, this is an area that's bound by Routes I-78 to the south, Adams Road to the west, Main Street to the north, and Lehigh County parcel number, I'll just say the address, 8400 Main Street, Folesville to the east. The intent of this is the township views this as an underutilized property and as an incentive and it's intended to be for manufacturers to come in to the area and utilize this property as a manufacturing site. With that, they would get certain tax abatements over a 10-year period, which would diminish over that 10 years based upon the improvements constructed on any one of those sites within that area. So with that, the township, as part of the process, is looking for a recommendation from the Planning Commission on the area delineated on the map before you.
Okay, anybody have any questions or comments? No?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to recommend the adoption of the LERTA Local Economic Revitalization Tax Assistance Area as delineated on the map prepared by HRG, which delineates an area bounded by Route I-78 to the south, Adams Road to the west, Main Street to the north, and Lehigh County parcel number 5456 4089 3833-1, otherwise known as 8400 Main Street, to the east as underutilized properties to be eligible for the LERTA.
You heard the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second's been made. Any discussion on the motion? Anybody in the audience have any comments, questions, or concerns about this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's been passed. Okay, going on to conditional use review, docket 2420, Sheets, Allentown, Windsor, 871 North PA, Route 100, and 7535 Tillman Street, conditional use.
Mr. Chairman, I'll have to recuse myself from this docket as it is prepared by my company.
Okay,
The applicant is requesting a conditional use to permit the construction of an auto service station with accessory convenience store and seating for more than 10 patrons. The store will include accessory drive-up window service, auto service station, and convenience store are identified as conditional uses in 27-306 Table of Permitted Uses within the zoning ordinance and require Planning Commission review and Board of Supervisors approval. The site consists of 2 parcels with access onto Route 100 and Tillman Street. Just a reminder, this is not for land development. This is only a conditional use application, and so it follows the zoning ordinance process. With that, I'll turn it over to the applicant.
Good evening. Am I on? Is that better?
Yes.
My name is Julie Wagner Burkhart. I'm with Stevens and Lee, the Land Use Council for Sheets, who is the applicant for the conditional use application that you have before you this evening. As Meredith explained, we're here for a conditional use for a convenience store with fueling positions as well as some indoor seating. This will eventually be the subject of a lot consolidation and subdivision plan. It is already 2 lots. It's just going to be reconfigured. One of the lots will be approximately 3.8 acres, and that will be the proposed lot for this use. The Sheets convenience store with indoor seating, 12 gas fueling positions, and a pull-up pickup window option for some made-to-order food items. This portion of the property is within the LI district, and the parcel that is created with the remaining portion of acreage will be undeveloped. And that part does have a section that's in the NC district. So what we're here tonight is just to have you kind of take a look at it, review our conditional use application, and hopefully make a recommendation to move us forward with approval. We did receive a zoning determination letter from Ally Scarborough, and she provided a little bit of guidance, which we used in preparing the plan that you have before you, as well as some of the application components. And that was favorable in all respects for what we have submitted. We also did receive a favorable conditional use review from Meredith Keller, and that was dated January 16th, 2026. A review from the Township Engineer, HRG, a TIS traffic impact study review that was conducted also by HRG. And we got a zoning review from Mark Walton and a review from the fire marshal. We do believe that we'll be able to satisfactorily address the majority of the comments. And tonight we have also the project engineer with us who will give you a little overview of the site plan that was submitted with the application, if you wish to hear that. And we also have a representative from Sheets, and the traffic engineer is also with us this evening. So we have our arsenal ready for any questions that you have on the application, the site, the use, anything like that. So I'll turn it over to Victor Grande from Ratu, who is the project engineer.
Good evening, everyone. Hope everybody had a great holiday. This has been a progress in the making. We met with township staff, who has been very helpful in this process. Back in, I think, in November or October. So what we're looking at here is we're looking at 2 existing lots. The lot frontage along Tillman Street and lot frontage along State Route 100. So what we are proposing as part of the project and as part of the development is a subdivision plan or a lot consolidation plan, reallocating the 2 lots to different sizes. The purpose of that allocation would be for the development of a Sheets lot The remaining parcel of the land will remain as agricultural. At this time, we do not have any information on any type of development. So on sheet 2 shows the proposed lot configuration. Actually, that would be the.
You went the other one.
Sorry.
I think I need to open that.
I have hard copies too, if that's easier for the board.
I think they have the plan in their packets.
Sure, yeah.
So what we are looking at is two different lot configurations, one being about 3.8 acres and approximately 7.3 acres. There's some adjustment we have to deal with right away, but for all intents and purposes, that would be the size. The lot number 1 on the left-hand side is associated with what we would be developing at this point. Lot number 2 would contain some development, but it would only contain development regarding the access to lot 1. The intent is to connect at the right in, right out on State Route 100, and then connect at the existing intersection of Tillman Street and I believe it's Windsor Avenue. Sheet number 3 shows the overall development as we talked about. So I can kind of roughly go into it. Sheet number 4 will be in a second, but we'll go into the more detailed part of the sheet's development. Just to the north of the property, we have an existing quarry that is shown there just on the very top of the page. The double dash line that we're looking at is a buffer requirement required under the NPDS permit, which we can have a little bit of discussion on this evening, of course. And then the access road coming from Tillman Street goes north and then to the west, connecting to the rear of the sheets. And the right in, right out is along 100. So sheet number 4 shows the proposed sheets development in detail. This shows what we would be intending on doing with regarding the layout and landscaping per the requirements. So as we work through this with township staff and internally as well, we do want to show you the best and the most accurate information that we can, showing compliance with the zoning ordinance. So moving from left to right on the plan, along State Route 100, we are looking at a proposed monument sign and some street trees along the frontage. We will then continue the right in, right out access from State Route 100 into the main site. Directly south of that is the underground storage tanks shown in a concrete hatch just to the north of the fuel canopy. We're looking at 6 different fueling stations for the canopy. Parking will be around the convenience store on the west, south, and east side of the building. There will be additional parking along the south side of the building. The heavy dark line on the farthest south is a retaining wall meant for grading, which we can look at in a little more detail if you'd like later. And then directly to the right of the convenience store is shown as an accessory use of the dumpster enclosure. One of the unique things on this site that we did review with the zoning officer and staff is that the Sheets model prototype here does not have a drive-through. What we are proposing is what we call a drive-up. So the drive-up is to cater to those that are using apps for ordering food and then coming to pick the food up. So there is no order point, there is no menu board. It is strictly based on an app that people use to order food. Let's see. We've demonstrated on plan 6, 7, and then also 8 regarding conditions with regards to grading, showing that the site is feasible for a grading standpoint. We did show what we would anticipate for above ground and below ground stormwater, so we did take a look at that. We have proposed utility connections along State Route 100. There's sewer and water in 100. I believe there's also gas too as well. So all of the utilities would be coming off of Route 100. And I think that's pretty much about it, everything. So if there's any questions on what we're proposing, I'd gladly like to hear.
So you're just proposing a stripe line for where you have the drive up, no curving in there?
That is correct. It did come up under conversation of the review. So we would be looking at that from a safety standpoint to see if it would make sense during land development to change that to probably a mountable curve as suggested.
Which would then also allow the loading, unloading?
I'm sorry.
Would also allow, if you do a mountable curve, it would allow the unloading and loading curve where you have it indicated?
Yes, we would look at that too as well. It was brought to attention that we need to kind of take a look at with regards to some site distances as well. But the intent and the purpose of the loading area is to load the convenience store in the northeast corner of the building. That's where the deliveries take place.
There was a comment made Monday night as well with regards to the signs. You have the one there, which is fine, but I think there's a comment regarding the one here proposing on Tillman and whether or not that is feasible. Is that what the concern? Is that it?
I think it was.
Okay.
Yes, there was some discussion on having a possible sign on the other property facing Tillman Street to allow traffic going down Tillman Street to be notified that the Sheets facility is there.
But is that feasible on a different lot?
I don't believe that we got a determination on that at this point. So I think that would be something that we would have to consider later.
And the reason this is considered an auto service station is simply because of the fuel pumps? There's really no auto service going on?
That is correct, yes. More towards the convenience.
You're not having a truck parking lot, I hope.
No truck stops. No truck stops. Only thing that we would be having is deliveries for fuel and for the convenience store itself. Trucks would be prohibited. Tractor trailers.
I'm curious, what are you guessing at here? I'm saying guessing because nobody knows. Is your vehicle count in and out?
The traffic engineer is actually here to speak to that specifically. If you'd like, I can bring that.
Absolutely.
That's the use.
Good evening, Eric Mounts with Traffic Planning Design. Sir, I can answer your question directly, or would you like me to give you a quick overview of traffic on this, and then we can get into some questions? Okay, so starting with, on this subject property, you're probably familiar with, there are already existing access points to both Route 100 and Tillman Street that were previously constructed in the early 2000s, around 2005-ish, to serve this development. The plan that Victor described is utilizing those two access points. Based on the research we have done for this property, we were able to pull, there are existing PennDOT HOPs that were issued in 2004 for both of those access points for an assumed development that was 120,000 square feet of office space and a 10,000 square foot restaurant. We are working on confirming this and getting something more definitive, but the property owner was able to provide us copies of the HOP plans that were prepared in conjunction with that. It appears what was done is at that time, the township was actually advancing a transportation project for the intersection of Route 100 and Tillman Street that was widening both roadways. As a result of that occurring and affecting that property frontage, it appears the property owner came forward with a plan showing potential development, got all the approvals in place with PennDOT to construct those two driveways as they exist in conjunction with the project that was done to widen that intersection, where it was all done at one time, is what it appears was done. But like I said, there were approvals put in place based on an assumed development scenario for this property. What we have done is that application did have traffic projections in it that were contemplated at the time. those projections from a traffic perspective are comparable to that of the proposed sheets that is before you. We have met with township staff and your engineers. We have prepared a traffic study in conjunction with the conditional use application that was provided. We have also submitted to PennDOT what they call a TIS scoping application, provided them with particulars of development. We have provided them with prior HOP approvals for the site. We're waiting for their review of that, but we do intend to meet with them to confirm that the driveways as constructed are appropriate. As I said, the study was completed. It was submitted for review. We have received comments from HRG on the study. There was not any comments in there that we think are unable to be addressed. We are hoping to reach out and have a meeting with them to discuss a few of the comments, but nothing insurmountable. We did find that the access points are, as previously constructed, are able to accommodate the traffic from this development. So to your earlier question on traffic for the development itself, I think it's worth touching on how traffic for a Sheets development typically works. And then I'll give you the numbers, but for convenience stores, there's basically two types of traffic. There's traffic that's new, defined as new traffic, which is a patron that, for example, is at their home and decides I want gas, I want a cup of coffee, I want a sandwich, and I drive there specifically for the intended use of the Sheets. The second is pass-by traffic, which is traffic that's already on the roadway. For example, I'm traveling to work in the morning, I pass by this site, I deviate to use the site in order to, again, grab gas, grab a cup of coffee, and I continue on my way as I would prior to the development being in place. The data that's out that is utilized to project traffic for these type sites, it's about 75% pass-by traffic for these uses. I wanted to bring that up as it's important there are changes in traffic patterns in the immediate vicinity of the development and at the access points, but there is not typically a substantial increase in traffic to the surrounding roadway network for these type uses because it is drawing from that adjacent traffic stream with those pass-by trips. So with that said, based on when we estimate traffic for these developments, township ordinances and PennDOT requirements are to utilize the Institute of Transportation Engineers trip generation manual. So basically, it's a compilation of data at similar sites, convenience stores, fueling in this instance, where they get real world counts, compile the data, and then we utilize that data to estimate for the particular use based on the size and number of fueling positions. Based on that data for this site itself, again, size and number of fueling positions, we are looking at 1,780 vehicles a day. So when I say vehicles, that would be that vehicle enters the site and exits the site. But that would be the total number of vehicles per day. And like I said, then of that, about 75% of that is traffic that we would project to already be on the surrounding roadways. So happy to provide any further details or answer any questions, but that's where we're at from a traffic perspective.
I just have another question. Are you from the area? Do you drive in that area?
I do.
And you know the nightmares in the morning and in the lunchtime in the afternoon?
I understand there's congestion in the area.
It's crazy. And you're gonna advertise this, I'm sure you're gonna advertise the sheets for people traveling. There's a travel stop sheets that had 3 miles. So you're gonna pull people off the highway for a quick stop. My concern is that intersection is probably one of the worst intersections in the township. And now we're gonna clog it up more.
Yeah, I go back to, I mean, it's
Those driveways were developed in 2004, 2005. It's not 2026. The traffic, in my opinion, was a lot less and a lot less hectic back in 2004 than it is today, because people drive with their eyes closed today.
understood. And I would say, I mean, that is part of the reason we're not just relying upon prior approvals. I mean, as I said, the traffic is similar to the prior approvals, but we have taken the step to do the traffic study based on current conditions. So we have all new traffic counts. We are looking at those access points based on real projections, with other developments that are proposed for the area. So we are doing our due diligence in looking at that those access points as constructed are appropriate for not only our traffic, but what is projected for the area. I don't disagree with you, sir. We understand it is a busy area. To your point, we have specifically considered that there will be a diversion of traffic off of 78 in this area to utilize the facility. But as I said, it's for most of these sites, it's a diversion of traffic already passing the site on a regular basis.
When they're coming out of the Tillman Street entrance, it's gonna be right turn, no left, correct?
The Tillman Street access is signalized,
Okay,
so yeah, it's full movement.
and Route 100's only right turn, no left. We're
Correct.
not gonna be able to cross over.
Correct. There's a median down the center of Route 100 that restricts it to right in, right out.
Part of the idea of the connection on Tillman Street is to alleviate them going around that intersection to go up to the Sheets. So they'll be able to, westbound traffic on Tillman will be able to turn into the driveway to then access the Sheets. So it should help or assist with the intersection.
Anybody else have any questions?
As far as the HOPs, that's for both off of Tillman and off 100.
That is correct.
And did we look at anything regarding sidewalks coming across the way? Do we have anything we can pull in? Did you think about sidewalks coming up to the site from Tillman Street?
So it's an ongoing, it's a comment in conditional use review from HRG for consideration of sidewalks. There's three components to it that we're going to be working through. There's the township's ordinance requirement for frontage improvements. There's the township's, and I looked this up and I'm going to mispronounce the name again. The VSAP plan that does have what is anticipated from a planning perspective, which does show sidewalk along the Tillman Street frontage, or Tillman Street in general in this area. It does not show on Route 100. And then there is a comment in the review about sidewalk, appropriate locations for sidewalk along both the site frontage, and if it would be appropriate to provide connection from the traffic signal at Tillman Street around the Loop Road to connect to the Sheets facility.
That's more what I'm thinking about, and not so much, you're talking about the first thinking on 100, correct?
Not currently,
Okay.
but yeah, internal private drive, private sidewalk connecting from Windsor and Tillman is important in our stance.
So I'm looking to see if there's anything across the way, and there's nothing else. We have deferrals on that side or not. But
The preference and the conflict that was mentioned was the action plan and the waiver kind of we have frontages on both Route 100 and Tillman Street. So the waiver would be something we would have to discuss during land development.
Correct.
For Route 100. Route 100 is a very busy road, so safety is very much a concern for us.
correct.
Tillman Street is, different conversation.
And I guess full disclosure on the internal, the one thing we're working through, we understand it is brought up at staff as at one of the initial meetings as a item for consideration. It's in the, as I mentioned, in the reviews. And Victor, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but one of the big things we have to look through is the topography of the site and the grades. Yeah, there's some pretty significant grades. So if sidewalk were to be provided, making sure it is ADA compliant is going to be a challenge. There's some significant grades to be made up through that area.
Coming up on just driving by and now looking off to the right, with the hill coming up from Tillman, that's pretty steep. Gotcha.
You mentioned that, and correct me, we talked about it on Monday, that people coming out of Sheet and making the right-hand turn going up. Does the medium go past far enough that people aren't going to come out of Sheet and make a quick U-turn?
That is a concern,
Yeah.
Peter. And the Sheets, the existing median does not extend much farther than their driveway.
Okay, so I thought he mentioned that it did, so that's why I'm just,
Well, I mentioned,
no, I'm sorry.
So you're coming out, you got about 100 feet before the median.
If you can bear with me for 1 second.
so yeah, we did voice concerns that vehicles coming from I-78 would utilize the Route 100 driveway and do a quick U-turn on Route 100, which we do not want, obviously.
I have Google in front of me here, the area looking at it. If you take the furthest point from the driveway, so if you were to make in the right out, the passenger side or right-hand side of that driveway, so the furthest point north, from that point to the end of the median is 140 feet.
So it's still a concern
Absolutely.
Yeah. and something that we'll discuss further and hash out during land development and the PennDOT approval process.
And since this is a conditional use,
Right.
the township can impose reasonable conditions upon the use. So that's something that you might want to note to the Board of Supervisors, along with the sidewalk, if those are some concerns.
Well, yeah, I would make a note on the sidewalks and, ideally, how far do you think that median should go up then?
What's that again?
How far do you think the median should be extended?
We'll have to look into that. I think it's another 1,000 feet or so until the intersection at Glenlivet. We'll have to discuss that and take a closer look. I don't have a number for you.
I mean, I can get, I think it's, if Mr. Kearns were agreeable, I think this is something we did submit to PennDOT, and we are looking for, again, clarification of some of the prior HOPs. Based on my experience, that is adequate distance. If I worked on the sheets at Citronia Road as well a few years ago, if you recall, that had a median that actually went in with that project. That median extends a similar distance past that driveway on Churchtown Road that this one does. I'm not making light of the concern, but I think looking at it from a traditional PennDOT design, when they have us put a median in to restrict the driveway, what's out there is appropriate.
Two different volumes of traffic though, too, down there.
Two different widths,
Town Road,
Road 100's a
west.
5-lane cross section, so quite
Yeah,
easy to
there's
do a
all-
U-turn than on Town Road, which is only two lanes or three if you have to turn lanes.
Township will be part of the conversations and the scoping application.
Correct. And maybe just for point of, I guess, comparison, I know it's a different use, but when the Route 100 warehouse at 110, Route 100 came in, there was concerns about tractor trailers leaving that site and making a U-turn on Route 100, and that applicant was required to extend the median down further to prevent those turns.
Right.
And just for clarity, that's the warehouse, approved warehouse just to the north of this site, correct?
No, this is the warehouse
That's
at
down.
Shantz and
Okay. Shots and whatever.
100.
Yeah.
Mr. Kern, if you don't mind me asking that, again, just looking at the area, so I'm familiar with it. There's the Glenlivet intersection, which
Yes.
is right in, right out, and then there's the newer access directly across the street from that, that's also right in, right out.
Correct.
Was there discussions with that? Because from what I'm seeing, there's not even a median that was installed, it was just striping put in with the two of those.
So the Glenlivet is an old intersection. I don't know when that one is. Many years ago.
Understood.
The one across the street is Renfield. That's a townhome
Yep.
development. With that intersection, I mean, it's vehicles heading south towards Route 100. So I wouldn't be as worried about people doing a U-turn or trying to make a left to head north on 100. With this use and a much higher volume, than a townhome development, it's a concern.
Understood.
And you can call me Ryan. No more Mr. Kern. Yes.
I just, that whole intersection with the media and stuff like that, one of my bigger fears too is when 78, closed because there's a crack. So all that traffic's gonna stop in for gas and then they're gonna try to U-turn there and they're gonna add chaos to chaos. To me, it's a nightmare.
That's fair. We'll definitely look into it. Land development.
I would say signage or something, 78, that way, straight out.
We've certainly, I'll use Citronia as an example, that Sheets did just work with the township, obviously, as I think many of you were here at that same time. There was a lot of discussion on access for that development, post-development. Sheets worked with the township on some signage. We're certainly willing to work with Ryan's office. Like I said at the beginning here, my intent is, I think in the near future, try and get a sit down to go through some of the comments, have some of these discussions, and then get, hopefully head in the same direction in advance of that PennDOT meeting that will be forthcoming once they review the application we submitted.
So you think you'll be able to sit down with them before supervisors?
Well, really, are you looking at that meeting prior to PennDOT, your scoping meeting?
It would be beneficial if we could, but I understand schedules are obviously just schedule dependent.
Yeah, we're talking 2 weeks until the supervisors meeting, that's on the 5th. We can probably sit down next week. So if you reach out tomorrow, we can get something on the calendar.
We can do that.
I wouldn't be opposed to getting a motion and set forward if it's approval on with staff and engineering on the sidewalk and the medial.
In the median?
Yeah, I don't know if with conditional, well, we can because it's a recommendation to the board.
Correct, yes.
So. And if not, then we know, then we won't, but I'll be at that meeting.
You said you'll be at the meeting?
At supervisors.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Absolutely.
think at the staff meeting.
No.
Jumping back to the.
And I don't want to get into too many details on this now, but just quickly looking at that from that median perspective, that is a significant ask. I just want to be clear because that will likely, looking at this, require reconstruction of the medians that are already at the Glenlivet intersection and that one that was just constructed for the townhomes, because there is very limited area in front of those medians. So we'd be talking roadway widening plus reconstruction of those two driveways. It's not, it may seem like a little bit of a benign ask. It's pretty significant.
I know it's not a benign ask, but to me, we're increasing the danger of the citizens that drive that road beyond what it costs. That's my opinion. You got to remember, I'm a safety-oriented guy. I do ambulance. I used to do fire. I look at all that stuff, and I know what the ambulance calls there and the fire calls are there for crashes. And if $4 million saves one life, then to me it was worth it.
Yeah, that's fair. We'll take a look at it and sit down with staff too and see what the feasibility of it is too as well.
Yeah.
So that's always the consideration. So
We're gonna put
dollars
our trust in staff and engineering to come up with an agreeable
Absolutely.
and make our recommendation that way. So
Understood.
Yeah, we have to go through the whole land development process and our buddy PennDOT has to be involved too as well. So
good luck.
there's a lot to be discussed too here. So our main purpose this evening is to discuss the use and, gain feedback just like you're talking right now.
This is still going to require a public hearing, correct?
Yes, that's on the 5th.
Jumping back to the exit on Tillman, is that a right turn and then a left straight coming out?
It is a left-hand turn and a shared through right turn lane. So there's
Okay.
2 lanes exiting, designated left and shared, as I said, left to right, or excuse me, through right.
Make more sense to have the shared with the left?
It's set up with the alignment. You want to have your alignment for the through movement to be able to travel straight
Straight
through.
across, you're not there.
Yeah.
Okay, Jen. Okay, gotcha. Okay. All right, so any other questions? concerns?
no, I don't know.
Yep. All right, I am going to make a motion to recommend conditional use approval to the Board of Supervisors, conditional on staff and engineers' letter comments as we go forward, focusing especially on the median, like we discussed, as well as sidewalks around the Tillman Street interchange.
That sound good to you, Ryan?
Yes.
You heard the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second. Any discussion on the motion? Anybody in the audience have any comments, questions, or concerns? If not, all those in favor of the motion, you come on up and to the microphone and tell us who you are, where you are from.
Evening, everyone. My name is Michael Gross. My wife and I own 7619 Tillman Street. That's her law office, gross law office. My concern is that this will be right behind her building. And I think a lot of what all you said about traffic is a big concern of ours. And I have a list of questions, so please forgive me. And I've never come to a meeting like this, so if I stammer a little bit, please have some patience.
All good.
So a couple questions I have. A lot of with the traffic entryway off of Route 100 North heading up to where this proposed Sheets development is very short, especially of the bank there, the credit union, and then the building behind that. So when you have traffic there that they can exit, they would also go right. So a big concern I would have is any traffic that would be turning right out of either of those parking lots would be directly commingling with any cars trying to turn right into the Sheets driveway, and that there's not enough room for cars to accelerate and decelerate in order to properly merge onto Route 100 without dedicated turning lanes.
Meredith, can you pull up the area?
Do you want Google this, you mean?
Yeah, either that or the rendering, either one.
Okay. Sorry, I think the rendering is over here.
So if you would take a look at this rendering here, it's okay if I approach the screen there?
Yeah, we can't see, but it's okay.
Oh,
The audience-
okay.
the audience
Well,
can.
if you see what's in green there, you can see in the audience at least can see, you can see the credit union, and then you can see the other bank directly behind that. And then right after that would start the proposed service station. And I guess my concern is just with acceleration, deceleration, the amount of traffic that could potentially be leaving the bank with that. I know you said with all those trips that 75% of them are old traffic, but that's 25% new traffic out of over 1,700 trips. So that 25% new traffic, the merging point both getting into the Sheets and also merging, leaving the Sheets onto Route 100 North, where it would be going up Route 100 before it goes to the dedicated turning lane of Glenlivet. I think that for a 2-lane highway could potentially cause a nightmare for anyone driving in and out of there.
Just quickly on that, there is with the, I mentioned there, that driveway was constructed previously, was permitted by PennDOT. There is a separate right-hand turn lane for deceleration that is there for this driveway. So the driveway you see on the northern part of the Sheets property there, that is right in, right out. There is a separate right-hand deceleration lane along the property frontage for that driveway.
And how long is that?
It's basically the length of the frontage. So the green you see fronting on Route 100 is a deceleration area.
You can
into
see
that
it dive
driveway.
in. If you look closer, you see how it dives in, give you some space there.
Okay.
See how if you look at that southernmost property frontage with the green, basically as you're coming north there's a taper that starts to widen the roadway there. And then you can almost see the change in the pavement there, right north of that tree. That from that point north is all a deceleration lane into that driveway.
Okay.
And you
Now-
have acceleration on the exit too?
So PennDOT traditionally does not do acceleration lanes.
Okay, so it's more yield, you're gonna.
He's correct. PennDOT doesn't want you parallel with the traffic and turning your neck all the way back to the left to look to merge.
Okay.
And, just with that, with traffic leaving, turning right onto Route 100 North, just even where the Sheets is, would that cause a visual impairment for any traffic that is, if you're going to turn right, that to be able to properly see left?
They'll have to look into that as part of their land development and PennDOT permitting. But
Okay.
if it's a pole that's only a foot wide and, the sign's up high, then no, it's probably not
I
a
think it'd be all right.
detriment.
There are permits and approvals required for this thing.
Where, your wife's office?
Yeah.
Which one is it?
7619, it
Is that
would
the long
be,
one?
it's the one with the parking lot,
Okay.
right there,
This,
with all the cars in it.
So-
No, to the left, right
this.
there.
Yeah, so with that being said, you're showing landscaping trees for the residential. Probably when you go through it, you have to look for you guys to talk with them to see what you can do to extend along that area, if that's a concern of his or whatnot.
Yes, so I would recommend you coming to some of the planning commission meetings, and I can certainly give you my card and information when you can come.
Okay, thank you. Now with this service stations, a lot of people coming in, a lot of people coming out, buying products, your coffee, your sandwiches, things like that. I know an issue that Weissenberg Township is currently having is trash. That with the sheets there, that they're having an issue with trash, and to the point where the township has requested that someone do a trash walk around the perimeter every hour to address the trash in the neighborhood. And I guess I want to see how something like that would be handled with so many people buying things. How would trash be mitigated?
Have you, and I'm gonna stick up for Sheets for 1 minute, only 1 minute. Have you gone to the Sheets at 100 or Turkstown Road and Centronia Road? That property is clean.
They actually have dedicated employees who do that.
Okay, so they do the
It's-
hour walks.
Part of their protocol. They have managers manage the site, and they have people who actually do manage the garbage on the site. You know, and then you can see where the enclosure receptacle is outside, but there's also, actually, refuse is a condition of approval that it's specifically, there's a performance standard in the zoning ordinance for it, which we will meet, of course, but they also do have trash receptacles on the outdoor seating areas, so everything's pretty accessible for anybody that's got trash to dispose of on site.
Yeah, that wants to use it, yes, of course. Couple more. So with the traditional light industrial, we talked about campus-like setting. And I know this is a conditional use, so it's not exactly the traditional light industrial, but I guess one question I have for all the planners is, how does this plan reflect a campus-like setting? You know, setting that, you know, you're proud to have in the township that, you know, promotes the open space, but also the businesses and just, you know, something of the quality that Upper Macungie usually has.
So we are permitted by right for this. The application for this evening is for the conditional use. So it has been zoned this way. So the township has anticipated, I guess is the way to say it, as far as potential development for a use like this.
Well, and I think an easy ask for that was you have all that green area leading out to the connection on Tillman Street, and to if that would become a dedicated open space. And also the reason I always say that with the quarry, with the Cobblesville quarry there, on the township, it talks about that being a refuge for wildlife, and you know, especially the Lehigh Valley Audubon, that letter's on there about for bird watching and how it's an impeccable area for that. My concern is also how would this impact that as a both a wildlife watching area and for the for all the birds and wildlife and just for nature in general.
We did do a PNDI, which is a report with regards to like special species, endangered or restricted species. Nothing came up that I'm aware of. I'm pretty confident that that's the case. I don't know exactly, but pretty sure. And the requirement for stormwater and construction-related activities is the buffer that's shown with the dashed line.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the area that's required for us to buffer. It's 150.
So will that be dedicated open space, like permanent dedicated open space?
The requirements for riparian buffers are that nothing can be built in it.
So permanently?
Permanent, yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. That's okay. I guess I'm also looking at preventable measures that would be in place to monitor any sort of late night noise, anything, you know, our building here is a significant investment for my wife and I. And of course, obviously we want to protect that. The more people, that more activity you have around, I guess I would like some reassurance that that there's a plan in place to keep things safe.
Just so everybody can hear the response to that question. So there is another site facility within the township at Citronia Road. So it's existing. We were able to actually do noise level studies at that site. The noise levels of that site meet the ordinance requirements. So, you know, apples to apples, we are anticipating that there won't be any reason why this would also not comply.
Yeah, I don't know if you're aware, but the township 2 or 3 years ago
I think it was just last year.
Or
It was just last year.
recently, they put a noise ordinance, and they have people, if you have a noise ordinance concern, call the township.
Okay.
We'll go out and measure the noise.
Okay. Part of the land development application would be that we would have to comply with that with. Okay. Okay.
And my last concern, I do appreciate everyone letting me have to kind of take your time, so thank you for that. Is there anything that would prevent people from either parking in our parking lot and going to Sheets, or going to Sheets, parking in Sheets' parking lot and walking over to our building?
Preventative, there will be a retaining wall with fence. The entire lot will not be fenced in. That's not traditionally done. But again, this would be something we could talk about during land development. I'm not sure, I can't speak to that at the moment. But there will be some physical restrictions with regards to elevations that would prevent some of the parking lot, particularly the lower parking spaces down at the bottom.
Yeah, my concern would just be if someone was going down Tillman, and they want to grab a coffee or sandwich or whatnot, and then they want to head on down to 78, that they park in our parking lot and say, oh, I'm just going to park here and walk up to Sheets. And we don't have a big parking lot. Of course, there's only two businesses there, the law office and the hair salon. So, we don't have a lot of traffic there, but we can't handle a lot of traffic. So something get put in place, either a chain, a berm, something like that would prevent, or at least try to prevent people from going from one site to another, we would certainly appreciate that.
Sure. Yeah, I encourage you to attend the planning commissions and the land development during the land development application.
The site does have more than required parking as planned. So, as far as the standards typically used for how much parking would be necessary for the use, it's there. There wouldn't be any reason necessarily for anybody to go looking off-site, and, the whole idea of this use is convenience. It's to bring them as close to the use as possible.
Yeah, no, I certainly understand.
Going forward, I would recommend, as he said, come to the planning meeting and even reach out to them and have a discussion with them, on being good neighbors.
Will do. All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Here you go.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I think comments also. We're actually neighbors of the Grosses. We live at 7617 Tillman Street, and we have some concerns. I have one page of concerns.
Is that relative to the conditional use this evening, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
So first thing I noticed in the write-up for the zoning is that paragraph 27-111 says variance. The variance is if authorized will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood or district in which the property is located. So maybe an answer to that. We don't see what that is. Safety concerns concerning possible fires and crime, increased traffic also. It's already chaos every time there's an issue on I-78. Bright lights will be on 24/7. Noise will be on a 24/7 basis. We're concerned with air pollution from the pumping gas, with prevailing winds coming from the northwest. So that's possible with leakage from the filling of the gas tanks, decreased property value. It's been stated by Zillow.com that property values do go down. Reduced quality of life, increased odors, and possible leaking from underground storage tanks. So these are the concerns we have, and I have this in a one-page sheet. If I could turn this in, I don't know if you could use that.
We can.
You want to give it to him, Meredith?
Could you also state your name?
Okay.
Can you tell us what your name is also, sir?
My name is Daniel Soroka, and my wife and son, Alexandra Soroka, Alexandra S. Soroka, and Daniel M. Soroka live at 7617 Tillman Street. Okay, thank you. for
Thank you.
the opportunity.
Anybody else have any questions on the conditional use? Seeing or hearing none. Everybody remembers what the motion is, correct? And the motion was made and motion was second. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is plan review docket 2421, Housing Creek Minor Subdivision 2021, Hickory Lane, preliminary final minor subdivision plan.
The applicant is proposing to subdivide a 43-acre parcel located on the east side of Hickory Lane, north of Becker Street. The subdivision would create 3 lots, of which lots 1 and 2 would consist of approximately 15.5 acres each, and lot number 3 would consist of 11.2 acres. The parcel is currently unimproved farmland with large wooded areas requiring woodland preservation. The lots would be served by individual and-lot wells and sewage disposal systems. The applicant submitted a modification request letter identifying 5 waivers and 11 deferrals from the SALDO. In terms of the Vision Zero action plan, it does depict a multi-use path extending east to west across the northern property line. The path proposes to connect existing hiking trails at Upper Macungie Township Park to South Whitehall Township. The Parks Rec and Open Space Plan that was recently adopted also identifies the parcel at 2021 Hickory Lane and recommends a conservation easement or deed restriction for construction of a multi-use path. The plan does propose a 20-foot wide multi-use trail easement along the northern property line to comply with the recommendations of the VSAP. In reviewing the subdivision plan, staff and consultants recommend relocating the easement along the property line, separating lot number 2 and lot number 3, since there are fewer slopes in that location. A second trail is proposed to extend north to south along Hickory Lane at the eastern property line, but that would likely be in the right-of-way. That concludes my comments. Did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I just want to indicate, we've seen this is the first time we've seen this plan. It's kind of in conjunction with the 3-lot subdivision across Hickory Lane, which is called Hickory Lane Estates, in so that they might be sharing some improvement costs and construction costs. So we have met with the applicant. We've met with the applicant's site engineer several times, had numerous conversations with staff. And it doesn't show on the plans that were submitted, but there was a sketch plan prepared by Keystone Consulting Engineers that did show widening of Hickory Lane by 4 feet and a new cul-de-sac bulb delving into this property for Housing Creek Estates. That did not show up on the plans. However, through discussions with the site engineer, it is their intention to build that. They are in the process of having conversations with the township's fire staff to see if that adequately addresses their concerns. If not, then maybe do something revised. So at this point, and the applicant and their engineer knows this, we're not ready to give them a recommendation, but this is one of those projects where it seemed like it was a good idea to get in front of the Planning Commission to get your thoughts and hear our thoughts on it to see what will be needed to move forward. As Meredith indicated, we're also recommending an easement for the VSAP trail that the township potentially has planned in this area. We are recommending they're tweaking the location just for feasibility and constructability for the future. So yeah, that's our general comments. At this point, I think we should turn it over to Mr. Bradbury and hear what he has to say on behalf of his client.
Okay, thank you. Mark Bradbury from Mark Bradbury Griffith. Here with Mr. Rothrock. We have been
sort of working on both projects simultaneously, and I don't want to really intermingle them unless it's about Hickory
Yes.
or the VZAP connection. So I'm going to try to avoid that at all costs. First, I'm still very concerned about the location of the VZAP trail. I just don't think it's viable. The trail crosses numerous streams of wetland areas. The location includes slopes over 30%, mainly through woodlands that the township wants to preserve. The key considerations for VZAP trails prohibit slopes greater than 12% for even short distances of 10 feet in length. The trail location was not coordinated with South Whitehall Township. The township does have, South Whitehall does have a future trail map connecting the game preserve, connecting from Route 309 to the game preserve. However, it currently ends at Route 309 and is nowhere in the proximity of the proposed trails by Upper McCutcheon. The second trail proposed by the VZAP extends north to south along Hickory Lane is questionable at best. The township staff is asking us to do some minor improvements to Hickory, which is basically all that can be done to Hickory because of the topography. But we're trying to put 3 driveways on, one on Hickory Lane Estates and 2 for Hodson Creek. Currently, there's 4 existing houses on Hickory Lane. One's at the far south end that really doesn't affect the areas that I'm discussing, but just for purposes, there are 4. I believe directing potentially hundreds of pedestrians and bicycles to Hickory Lane would be in direct conflict of the VZAP model. We do have some concerns that we have not yet gotten any comments back from the township for the easement regulations, the restrictions, the maintenance. All of that data was requested several weeks ago. Also, if we do agree upon this easement, I don't think any trail should be constructed until all adjoining easements have been acquired. And I think that could take 30 or 40 years and may not even be possible. I think there's some people here tonight to speak to that. Just going to give you a little insight. The minor subdivision does not appear to fit the definition of a development. The proposed lots are designed to meet the requirements of Act 319 and should not be required to pay fees or construction for road improvements with the exception of minor improvements to Hickory and not a fee in lieu of the full improvements. Okay.
So is this directed to the township or is this
Yes.
for the planning?
This is to the
How
township.
about directing your comments? This is a planning commission meeting.
Yes.
It's redirected to the planning commission. If you have a discussion with staff and engineering, that's another meeting.
Okay, that's fine. Then the ones that I would have to the planning commission would be to, we want to resolve the issue of the fees that would be involved with Hickory Lane. Again, we have both parties agreeing to improve Hickory Lane, but I don't think we should have to pay fees in lieu of full development of Hickory Lane. Now, if that's not what Brian has proposed, then I need some clarification on that.
So specific, we're trying to keep both of these projects separate, right?
Correct.
Specific to Hodson Creek Estates. We have had discussions with township staff, and yes, we acknowledge that verbally you have said, the town or your clients would be looking to widen Hickory Lane and put the bulb at the end. There is still the matter of the VZAP trail easement that would run through your property. In light of full Hickory Lane frontage fee in lieu of, the township would accept a fee in lieu of construction fees for that trail, though it would not be the intent to construct that trail in the near future.
But they would still want the fees which, correct me if I'm wrong, this was in the VSAP ordinance that I read. Currently, the number is $100 per lineal feet for a 10-foot wide multi-use trail.
I
Does that
believe so,
sound about
yeah.
right?
I believe so.
Okay. So that would be approximately $170,000 for the trail for Hossick Creek, because it's about 1,700 feet long. And then how would that money then be, would that go into an escrow account?
So I discussed that with the township manager as well. Maybe I didn't explain it too well the first time I went through this. So there's the improvements you're making potentially for Hickory Lane, the widening and the bolt. Then there's what is required by the township ordinance, for your boundary road upgrades, correct? So that's a larger number. Then there's a separate matter of the VSAP. The township would be willing to accept the improvements of Hickory Lane plus the fee in lieu of the trail itself, and not the full half width widening of that entire stretch of Hickory Lane for the frontage. I don't have those numbers. Eventually, we'd be looking for you to develop those in conjunction with discussions with us. Where that money goes, it's my understanding that the township will create a fund specifically for trails. So no, it would not be an escrow, it would be a fee.
And that money could be used at any site, anywhere.
That's the intent, as I understand it, yes.
Okay. What if these trails aren't ever built? In other words, for topographic reasons, wetland disturbance, stream crossings, 30 to 40% slopes that are all in the way of where this trail is shown currently on the VSAP plan.
Right. Well, you're asking a question that I don't have an answer to. What if the trails are never built? I know it's the township's intent to continue to obtain pieces of easements to connect over into South Whitehall, and they have had conversations with South Whitehall recently, just so you know, and to connect that to, Fogelsville. I want to speak hypothetically if something never gets built.
Right. It's sort of alarming, and I know David is very concerned about it. It's a very large undertaking by the township to do these VSAP trails. I understand that. And reading through the documentation that's provided online is semi-adequate. It's not full instructions or, 100% concrete. And I think we're just concerned that by starting this, or if we're the first ones through the gate, which I think somebody had mentioned that with where this cross-country trail is there, that we are the first people, and maybe that's why we haven't gotten the full language that would be involved with the regulations for the trail. We don't think we can offer that trail without having that information. It'd be like saying, oh, you can just do whatever you want. So we need that to be processed as quickly as possible, because we obviously have an agreement of sale with the piece on the other side that's going to have the same problem. So I would really like that to pick up the pace a little bit if possible, so we can get this resolved. I am concerned though that there's no nexus for this trail. That's part of the whole plan, and I would love to help the township plan, and I've provided you with Ryan all the topography from Fogelsville Dam to South Whitehall Township, and it's very alarming, very alarming. And I think we should readdress that before we cast something in stone that can never be built. The other thing with that is, it keeps coming back to fees. I saw there was another section in there that you want recreation fees. And the piece on Rothrocks is almost 3/4 of an acre for the trail, the length times the 20-foot width. That equates to a number that's probably a little bit more than what a rec fee would be. So I think maybe we could try to consider that to be included with the trail, because we're not saying we're not dedicating land for rec, we are. So I think there could be a trade-off there also. I think I'm gonna ask Dave to step up for a minute because we do have some concerns about the legality of realistically asking us for that money for the trail at this point in time. I know Mr. Schatz was provided with some information from Blake Marles. I'm sorry he couldn't be here tonight. He had major surgery today. David, if you'd like to come up, maybe.
Hi, David Rothrock on behalf of the estate of Marcel Rothrock Sr. Thank you for your time tonight. I'm going to just get right into it. I agree with what Mark is saying. I believe the demands here of the township for a 3-lot subdivision, that all these lots are over 10 acres, is really, in a gross fashion. I have no problem working with the township to accomplish some of your goals, to accomplish our goals, but I think asking for this type of, impact fees when it's a dead end road and the only people that are going to be on it are the new driveways, which will be 3 on Hickory Lane. I don't know that it justifies all these impact fees because I don't know where the impact is. I think you guys know as well as I do, there has to be some kind of nexus to what's being requested to the, the demands of the township. So major concerns there, and as well as the trail, the concern I have is what Mark said. I don't know what it's going to be made of. I don't know who's going to maintain it. I don't know the security. I don't know the use restrictions. I don't know anything about this. I think we've requested this stuff almost 2 months ago. Okay, not under my plan, but under Chuck's plan, and we've gotten nothing. And I just want to say one other thing, and this is Mark can speak to it. I can't because I wasn't at the meetings. But we went in, we thought we had, a reasonable concession that we could make and allow you guys to do what you want to do and us to get on with our subdivision. And, it changed the next meeting, and then it changed again through this letter. It's just like a moving ball. And, I don't think that's fair. I think it's not proper. Would love to sit down and have a discussion and get it all resolved. But I certainly want the township to be more in alignment with what I think is being done here. And I think right now the ask is way greater than what it should be. So, if anybody has a question.
What meetings are you referring to?
Staff.
Or staffing? Staffing, okay. So it's
So-
not us.
Yeah,
So-
no.
So here's my take, and I could be 100% off. It seems like you guys have not resolved your stuff with staff and engineer. And what you're saying here tonight is this committee can't do anything about it.
Yeah, so the points that you raised concerning like financial contributions and where the money goes and the implementation of that money, that's beyond the scope of this board. I mean, really, there should be a meeting between you and township staff,
We had a pre-app meeting.
okay? But I guess you guys don't feel that your questions were answered, so maybe another meeting is warranted.
I believe it is. Well, obviously it is. That we definitely have to sit down with another staff meeting. I just think that there's too many empty rooms here that need to be filled.
And is Bob usually in on these meetings?
No,
Because I think ultimately Bob would have to make some of these calls,
correct.
right?
Correct.
So as we're talking about, like the money, we don't do anything with that. We can't say anything about the policies of the VSAP. We just are planners. So, I mean, I think we're all in agreement that there should be a meeting with the township manager and your team to kind of vet these things out. So when you come back to us, it's a clear
Yeah.
planning thing.
Because unfortunately, everything you've talked about tonight is not us. There's not one thing that you talked about tonight
Yeah.
so far that is planning commission. That's staff and engineering, in my opinion.
I think the only thing that I wanted to get out in the open air was to sort of solidify where we are at this point in time. Originally, we were told that if we provide the easements, that we wouldn't have to do the improvements on Hickory other than what was there. Then after that, I got a call back and I saw the letter, and it said, no, we want the easement and the improvements inside the easement. So I told my client one thing and then I saw something else. So there's still some confusion as to how that's all gonna take place. But the only part that you would play would be in granting the partial waiver from the road design. And we just want to make sure that if that's what Ryan and I come up with as a viable trade-off, that we pay for the trail, that the planning commission would see to fit to grant that partial waiver for the full construction of Hickory.
So the improvements that were developed previously by Keystone several years ago, that was, Ryan reviewed those on Monday night and, reiterated how that was a collaboration of your team and Public Works and the township. And I've been on the board for a while and we were in accordance with following Public Works's recommendation then, and I don't know if anything has changed at this point.
Yeah, I think the only thing we need to help finalize is the input from Peter Crest, the fire chief.
Right. And Peter received this last week.
So I think that as this meeting gets set up, that certainly, Mr. Rothrock needs to attend as the principal, and I think the township manager needs to attend so that the two people who the buck stops can come doing a thing here. Because, it's not fair for you to have to come time and time again, and, we don't want to see you time and time again.
Agreed.
So,
That would be much appreciated.
Okay, I think that's all we have for Hassan Creek.
okay,
To
so,
summarize, your concerns with regards to where the fees end up, which we discussed will be during that meeting. You have concerns with regards to the trail actually being constructed, and I'm going to throw my 2 cents on this is the longest journey is the first step. I understand 30, 40 years, I may not be around, but we don't start somewhere. We have to. So that I would say, if you're concerned about doing it at all or us not wanting it, my standpoint is I want it whether we do it or not, just so we have it coming across this property, and the estates would be the next one. We can start planning. I understand the concern there with the grade and all that stuff. You would be limiting probably some people from going up and down, but still, treks are part. Like, we hike that a lot. It's a local area, a nice roundabout would be kind of what the goal there would be. And then conversely, your concern is you want the definition to what your liabilities would be for those properties.
Absolutely.
And I'd be curious, because I don't think we came to a resolution on that with the states when we were talking about it a month or two ago.
That's not ours.
once again, that's more of a township.
Yeah, that's an administrative thing and not a planning commission thing.
They're the 3 things I heard of what you brought up, more or less, tonight.
Yeah, those are top priority, yes. I think the engineering comments, other than that, are pretty simple. A little bit of drafting, and we have full topo on Hickory, so it won't be very difficult to put together, the improvements for that. I just think we need to keep moving forward as quickly as possible to get the answers, because we gave Mr. Cohen an extension, because we thought maybe at this meeting we would get some of those answers, and that runs out on the 26th. So this was important for us to get here. We didn't want to waste your time. We just really need to get.
We understand.
We don't want you,
Converse, it goes both ways.
Right.
we just want to make sure it's working for everybody, that we're here doing the right thing for the township and you're doing the right thing for you. And we'll make it work. Just get that right dialogue.
So the only other thing we discussed about this and the other project on Monday night at our workshop, that was kind of a planning thing, and this you need to take back to Peter Chris, is, previously the fire department, when you were up a couple of years ago, the fire department had expressed concern about the lack of water service up in this area for larger homes if there had been a fire. And I believe in one of the previous review letters from a few years ago, there may have been a recommendation that there be underground cisterns put in as part of the building process So there's additional fire water available. And I did not see that comment in this letter, so that I should be put in the minutes for consideration, please.
And I did bring that up to
Yeah.
Mr. Cohen's attention that, it wouldn't be very difficult to put some underground tanks, utilizing the rain bore first, and if there's excess water coming from your well, that you try to keep them full. But I have discussed that. So,
Okay. And ultimately, I think the fire commissioner should weigh in on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because fire service is a little different number back down than it was a couple years
As well
ago.
as the
So,
building code officials.
Yeah. All right, are we done on this one?
We are.
All right, so we're done on this one? Martin?
I'm good on that one.
Okay.
And the other one's gonna go twice as fast.
Okay, well, hold on a second.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna make a motion to table docket number 2421 until engineering and staff comments are addressed.
You heard the motion, is there a second? Tim seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none from the committee, any discussions or comments from anybody in the audience? Yes, ma'am. You gotta come on up to the microphone.
Hi, Carol Hoover, 2302 Hickory Lane, and also 2190. I guess my question is how can I be involved in going forward here to protect my interest? If you're going to have meetings that are not open to the public, I would like to be involved.
Any meeting that there's anything final will happen here or at a supervisor's meeting.
No, but
The discussions with staff and property owner are at their pleasure who they invite.
Right, it would not be a public meeting.
Right,
Public
right.
meeting would occur if there's a quorum of the board of supervisors, and supervisors don't.
And anything that's decided will be in a public meeting, either at a planning commission meeting or a supervisor's meeting. If the property owners want to invite to part with them, that's up to them, not us.
All right. I just want to be kept in the loop.
And are your
We're more than willing to invite you to come to the staff meetings, we'll keep you posted.
and what are your, just broad terms, what are your concerns over?
The walking path.
Okay, so then what you should probably do on that to get ahead of that process is put your concerns in an email and send them to the township manager so he's aware.
Okay, all right. And I just have one question. As far as the walking paths, where would parking be? I really just don't even understand this whole concept. Who's going to be walking? Again, as you saw the other week or month, whatever, I'm very upset, as I said, but I don't even understand it. I have to kind of agree with Mark. I don't see, it just doesn't seem to be too
The
far
township
out.
was trying to fulfill an obligation when they did the survey, and the residents of Upper McConkey overwhelmingly stated that they wanted walkability in the township. And they wanted to be able to go from one part of the township to the other. So they might park in Briningville and walk once everything's said
Or
and
they
done.
might park at the bottom of my driveway.
The intention, though, is for the trailhead to be at Upper McConkey Park, the Route 100 Park. That is where the trail would begin, and it would access Hassan Creek and the dam, and then it would extend to the Jordan Creek in South Whitehall Township. So I think there would be the opportunity to either park at Upper McConkey's Park and walk the trail, or to park in South Whitehall Township and walk the trail.
So there would be no additional parking lot on.
There was no parking that was identified in the
And
middle
wait,
of the
how
trail.
would how would you keep people from parking on Becker or Hickory? Or how are you gonna do that? I don't say they're gonna park on Hickory to begin with. Pardon me?
I don't say they're gonna park on Hickory to begin with, it's already so narrow in that area.
Right, exactly. But you're talking about widening it.
And there's nowhere to widen that.
It's widening by 2 feet each side. It's not a major widening.
All right. Again, I'm sorry, but I
Understood.
moved
It's okay.
there for a reason.
Yeah.
As Barry Doble stated too, and Binkini. That's all. Try to look at our side.
And just be visual with the meetings, that's,
Okay.
and come to the meetings and make sure your voice is heard.
Well, and make sure you voice your concerns to township manager.
Okay.
As we mentioned earlier, the VSAP plan that identified where trails go is more of a big planning document. We want to go from here to there,
I
right?
understand, but it's starting.
No, I know.
It's affecting me, number one. I'm the first person, of course, and
Well,
that's
you're
affecting.
actually not the first person that has VSAP improvements on their property. There's quite a few down in this area, but anyway.
Okay.
So a planning document is a big picture that says we want to go from here to here. We've got a vision, right? And then as that moves forward and land is acquired and funds are secured, then it goes into engineering. And that's where some of the more detailed questions of like, where exactly are the trailheads going to be and how are we going to manage access onto the trail in the area of these properties. So some of those just aren't developed because it hasn't moved into preliminary engineering. But that said, as Chuck said, put your concerns in letters to the supervisors, to the township manager, because when we get involved, it's much more towards the end of the process, right? And there were a lot of good questions raised the last time, and there were questions raised this evening about, use of funds and escrow accounts and liability accounts, and none of that is under the purview of the board. It's this board. It's really under the purview of the Board of Supervisors. So I apologize that we can't really answer all of your
I
comments.
understand. I understand. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else? If not, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion's passed. Okay, now we're gonna go on to docket 2407, Hickory Lane minor subdivision, 2010 Hickory Lane, preliminary final. Meredith?
Okay, sorry, 1 second. The applicant is proposing to subdivide a 60-acre parcel located at the northwest intersection of Hickory Lane and Becker Street into 3 lots. Lot number 1 and number 2 would consist of approximately 11 acres each, and lot number 3 would consist of 37 acres. The parcel is currently unimproved farmland with several wooded areas and would also be served by individual on-lot wells and sewage disposal systems. The applicant has identified 5 waivers and 12 deferrals from sections of the township SALDO. I'll just skip most of the other comments because they're similar to the ones in the previous application, and I'll either open it up to you or to the
Yeah,
applicant.
you can open up to me first, and then we'll get to Mr. Greberry. Similar to the project we just discussed, we have very similar comments. However, Becker Street is along the frontage of Hickory Lane Estates, and I've had discussions with the township manager specific to Becker Street and the fee in lieu of as part of the boundary upgrade fee. The applicant's site engineer has indicated, although I have not seen a cost estimate, that it's in the realm of $1.1 million for improvements to widen Becker Street to make it compliant. Similar to Hazen Creek Estates, the township is willing to discuss a reduction in that fee in lieu of to pay for the trail improvements and go into a trail fund similar to what we just discussed. I do not have an estimate for that trail either. We would expect, the site engineer to prepare those in the future. But it would be significantly less than $1.1 million.
Anything else?
That's it.
Mark, the floor is yours.
The only thing I thought of, and it applies to both. Brian, would you, if I can get the trail manager from South Whitehall to come to the staff meeting, because I've had long conversations with him about how we're going to connect it and what we can do. And they have a vision, and I think it'd be good to try to coordinate that, especially since you want South Whitehall's trail to be a nexus to your trail.
I do want to say that the recreation manager here at Upper Macungie Township and I have met with the community development director, and I assume the trail manager that
Well, they call him the trail guru. I
Okay.
don't want to say that.
I assume
Yeah.
I assume you're talking about the planner that we met with. And I want to point out that he was on the Vision Zero Action Plan Task Force Steering Committee. He lives in the township, so he participated in it. So they're very familiar with this and what our intention is. And I understand that their focus is a little different, but they do find value in connecting this trail to their trail. I'm sure that he would be more than willing to join us. So I think that's a fine ask.
If that's okay, I just think it'd be a great idea to coordinate. And you did answer my question about Becker and Hickory, which were our big concerns, that we were going to have to give money for both. And I said, that you can't do anything with the property. That's counterproductive. You can't, whatever it would be, $3 million of improvements that would never be built, and then the property's not obviously worth that. So we'll go back and we'll discuss these trails again, and we'll set up a meeting with you, Ryan. I'll call you to see what your schedule is, and Andrew, if you can help out trying to get some documents put together for us.
I think it's premature because we said the engineer's not there, but I mean, there are state statutes that protect a private landowner from liability.
But when you write an easement agreement for private property, it has to contain language that protects those owners as well as the township. Is there a model or something?
I don't think I would not want to put that language in the easement agreement, but there could be, and again, I haven't vetted this with the township, but there, theoretically, there could be an indemnification agreement. But again, there's a state statute that provides protection from private landowners in exactly this type of situation.
Can you
As so long as they're not
that
acting
statute for
maliciously
me?
or willfully to hurt people, there is protection afforded to private landowners. But I can get that act to you.
All right, well, that'll be a starting place for us to discuss maintenance, responsibility, et cetera. I did look at Lower Macungie. Some of their examples were a little hard to swallow. I didn't agree with them 100%. And we have had conversations both with Dave Rothrock and with Mr. Chuck Cohen on what we would expect. And I can certainly send you what we outlined as what we would expect as landowners. If that would be helpful, we can.
Sure, you could, that's not a problem, send that along to
Okay.
me. Okay, you said you're gonna base that off of what Lower Macungie provides? Because I'm unfamiliar.
Yeah, some of it, and there's some additional requests that Dave and Chuck had asked for, so.
Because I'm unfamiliar with what Lower Macungie requires, so if you want to forward that as well, that's fine.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay.
Just a general question, is there a particular reason to try and keep these two plans segregated as opposed to looking at them more overall?
Two separate owners.
Okay, but as far as how we're looking, feedback we keep getting when these come up is that, well, we want to take this into account, we also want to keep in mind the overall, so one doesn't get
I
further
think
than the other.
the only common part of this is Hickory Lane. That's the only thing they have in common. And both owners have agreed to share their half of the cost of the improvements. So that's the only common. They both have unique situations.
Paul?
The only other comment we talked about on Monday night was once again the consideration of fire cisterns. And I'm sure Mr. Crystal will include that in one way or the other. So it sounds like there's a big meeting coming up. All right, are you good? For tonight, any other questions?
I think we're good.
Okay.
Mr. Lipson, you have anything to add? No?
Okay. Then, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to table docket number 2407 based upon the comments and staffing engineers review letter.
I'll second it. Any discussion on the motion? Anybody from the audience have any questions, comments, or concerns? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
All right, good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is docket 2413, Nursery Street Townhouse, 1500 Nursery Street, preliminary final.
The applicant is proposing to develop one lot within the larger Lehigh Hills development. Construction would include 36 townhouse units on lot 245 that would be accessed from a private drive intersecting Nursery Street. The project includes site improvements such as the construction of a water line, sanitary sewer, associated access drives, and storm sewer. The applicant has submitted a modification request letter identifying 2 waivers from sections of the township saldo, and they had previously received approval by the Board of Supervisors for 3 waivers. I'm going to let Ryan jump in and explain those 2 waiver requests.
Certainly. So in our letter, it is waivers 3A and 3B. You'll notice in our letter, we do reference that 3B was a deferral of curb. However, information we received late last week after our letter was comprised and submitted to the township indicated that they will be now requesting a waiver of that curb, and I'll elaborate on that a little bit more later. One of the prime topics of discussion over the last few months has been a fee in lieu of the sidewalks along Route 100. The township and we as a township engineer have been requesting that. Late last week, John McRoberts from the Pidcock Company, who's seated up front here, provided us with a long history of Route 100 improvements and Lehigh Hills and the Weiss development and everything that has occurred there along the last 20 years. And long story short, they provided evidence that convinced us and also convinced the township manager that they fulfilled their obligation for roadway upgrade improvements, many years ago, back in 2009, I think it was. So we are verbalizing to you now that we are rescinding the request for the fee in lieu of sidewalk. As such, the curb was included as part of that boundary road upgrade, and it was a line item in their cost estimates and ultimately the check that they wrote to the township back then, which was in the amount of $676,000 and change. So that is why they changed it from a deferral request to a waiver. Any questions for me specific to modification request number 3A and 3B?
No.
John, do you have anything else you might want to add about, without getting into the site plans?
Yeah, no, that's all consistent with, that's exactly what happened. I don't think it was unreasonable to ask in the first place. It's a saldo requirement. I wasn't aware of the history. A lot of folks at Channel weren't aware of the history. After the November Planning Commission, when we were tabled, it got elevated to David, and he said, "Wait a minute, I paid that 20 years ago. What are you doing, John?" Here we are.
And David won't forget.
No.
Not that big. All right, so you've seen the letter. Have you had a chance to go over the comments?
Yeah, we went through the comments from Meredith and from HRG.
You're in
No
agreement
major
with?
objections. We'll address these all to HRG's satisfaction. As always, there may be something slightly different than
Yeah.
the exact text in the letter, but I'm confident that we'll make them happy.
And Ryan, you have no other comments other than in your letter?
I have no other comments specific to the waivers. I'll turn it over to Anderson right now to discuss any of our saldo comments for
Sure.
the site plans.
So, as you heard on Monday, the remainder of the saldo comments are mostly pertaining to drafting and some ADA requirements that the applicant has said they can comply with. And then just to give you an update on some items from Monday, that for MPDES permitting, the applicant is in their technical review of comments. It is mostly ENS related comments, which they should be able to address. And then as for sewage planning, that was addressed in the Lehigh Hills planning. They did not need a separate planning module for this development. So those are the updates. And like I said, the comments should be able to be addressed. Nothing from a stormwater management perspective, except for one very minor comment. At this point, do you have anything else?
No, I think we've been in front of the Planning Commission with this one a couple of times. And I think we've got everything worked out at this point.
Go ahead, Paul. Sure. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of waiver 3A concerning sidewalks.
Katie, is that anything else?
Well, there's two waivers, so, what the hell, I'll do them, sorry. Waivers I'd like to make a motion to recommend a waiver of approval, waiver 3A, and approval of waiver 3B.
Okay, you heard the motion for 3A and 3B. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Anybody in the audience have any questions, comments, or concerns? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's passed.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to recommend preliminary final land development approval for docket number 2413 based upon the comments and conditions in staff and engineers review letters.
Okay, you heard the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Pete seconded it. Any questions? No questions? No comments? Anybody in the audience have any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has been passed.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Okay, next on the docket is 2390, 61117, Gravis Park Lot, preliminary final land development plan.
This application proposes to modify the existing paved parking lot to reduce paving, adjust parking, and remediate stormwater discharge. The site is subject to previously unapproved paving activity. This plan intends to bring the site into compliance with all applicable township ordinances. The applicant has submitted a modification request letter identifying 7 waivers and 4 deferrals from sections of the township SALDO. In terms of the Vision Zero action plan, there are no improvements that are depicted on the plan. And owing to I-78 at the parcel's southern border, Gramis Lane dead ends and prevents vehicular and pedestrian circulation. Staff and consultants support the applicant's request to defer sidewalks along Gramis Lane to minimize pedestrian activity owing to potential safety issues. That's all the comments I have, so I'll pass it off to you.
All right.
Anderson?
Yeah, so, as Meredith mentioned, the purpose of this plan was to bring the site into compliance, as a result of a notice of violation. So we've been working with the applicant. They've had 3 submissions to us, so you're seeing them for the first time now, though. So at this point, I think I can turn it over to the applicant to give some additional information since this is your first time in front of PC.
Okay, yes, so we are trying to bring the site into compliance.
Tell us who you are.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Monica Sweeney. I'm with Vargas and Associates. So we are trying to bring the site into compliance. There was a parking lot at the rear of the site that was constructed without going through the proper approvals process. So what we're doing is reducing some of the paving to comply with the Buckeye pipeline that crosses the site, as well as reducing the parking and preventing future parking underneath the PP&L right-of-way that runs along I-78. We are also proposing a stormwater management system to remediate any stormwater and drainage issues, which will be discharging to a level spreader that drains to some wetlands before crossing under I-78. There's also an area across Gramis Lane that has been used as sort of a gravel parking lot that used to be just a grass, open grass area. We are planning to restore that area to remove all of the gravel that's there and restore it with a meadow type of cover.
Anything else?
That's about it.
All right. At this point, we can consider the waivers and deferrals that have been requested. If you'd like, we can go through each one and provide some discussion.
Well, have you had a chance to review them, the waivers?
Yes,
And are you in agreement with them?
we are.
I don't think there's a need.
So one discussion point, we recommend approval of all of the waivers or deferrals. except as you might recall at the workshop meeting on
6.
Monday night, number 6 was a waiver they're requesting for site lighting around the parking lot. We think it's appropriate to light portions of the parking lot where the site lighting would not be within the PPL easement or the Buckeye easement. Planning Commission may want to discuss that further, but that's our recommendation.
Yeah, and I think we should discuss 6 a little bit. So if we just want to talk about 6 for a while. So, we have a problem with light pollution in this township, which is on the list of things to address in an upcoming ordinance, right? And so I don't know if there's a real need to put parking lot lighting in the private parking lot of a trucking company, of a towing company.
Right.
So it's not even like a distribution warehouse that's got 1 million people, right? So, I would be in support of just granting them the waiver for that, but that's just my opinion,
And this is the one down. This is Jokins, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's got no pedestrian traffic.
Right.
It's a heavy industrial business that really in their back, as I noted on Monday, I'm a firefighter. We go back, they let us go back there and use it for rescue training and stuff. No one belongs back there unless they're a Yoakum, a business employee. So I'm not sure I'm not sure why it needs to be illuminated.
Okay, understood. Our letters are letters, so
Yep.
you guys discuss it and decide what you're comfortable with.
Yeah, I don't see the property changing any time soon anyhow.
It was also discussed, correct me if I'm wrong, nobody would go back there after hours in the dark. Is that my understanding as well?
Well, the applicant should really address it, but, it's a towing company. The only thing back there is wrecked vehicles. So when the tow truck comes in, and they should probably speak to this, but the tow truck comes in, they drop off the wrecked car or truck, and that's it.
The parking lot is primarily used for the temporary storage of trailers for the trucks that are being worked on. So most of the operations are going on during the day, and there won't be much truck maneuvering at night.
Okay.
So, I can make a motion.
You can.
Okay. All right. So if I'm looking at this correctly, all of these are approvals, except
Yes.
for number 6.
Correct.
From you. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to disagree with your recommendation on 6. And so, Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to recommend approval of waivers 1 through 6 and 11. Sorry, 1 through 6 and 9 through 11.
Paul, one correction.
Yeah.
It's waivers 1 through 3.
Correct.
It's
I apologize.
4 and 5 are deferrals. Sorry.
Okay. So should we do waivers and deferrals separately to make this more easy?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, start this over. Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to recommend approval of waivers 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, 10, and 11.
Okay, there's a motion to approve the waivers. Is there a second?
Also,
Second, any discussion on the waivers? Anybody in the audience have any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion's passed.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of deferrals 4, 5, 7, and 8.
You heard the motion to grant the deferrals. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Pete. Any discussion on the motion? Anybody in the audience have any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's passed.
All right, so those out of the way. So where is the applicant in their NPDES review?
All right, so in terms of their MPDS review, they do have they're in a completeness review.
Okay.
I will say that the reason that at this point we feel comfortable recommending, action on the preliminary final plan is because we've been in multiple pre-application meetings with the township and with LCCD, and they've been working with us the entire process to get to this point through 3 submissions, and they do also have their LVPC consistency.
Okay.
Is that the technical?
No, they're not in technical yet. So one thing we'll just mention to you, generally we don't consider entertaining an approval recommendation until you get a technical, because who knows what the conservation district comes up with, right? And the risk you run is that if you get a recommendation from us on this, the way it is right now, and the conservation district comes in and says, no, we want this moved, then you start over. Well, not necessarily start over, but you come back before us. Okay? So as long as you're aware of that.
Yes. I'd also like to add that in addition to considering those factors, it's noted that this is as a result of a notice of violation, and
Correct.
they're scaling back, so the limits of the parking lot and the plan itself are unlikely to significantly change due to such comments.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a recommendation for preliminary final plan approval for docket number 2390, conditioned upon the comments and staff and engineers review letters.
You heard the motion. Is there a second? I'll second it. Any discussion on the motion?
No.
Anybody in the audience have any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion's passed.
Have a good night.
Somebody make a motion too.
There's nothing else that needs to come up? Meredith?
No.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Pete, is there a second? See, Chris, Second? See, Chris ain't throwing this off. Okay, there's been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's passed tonight.
Yeah, and-